Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, and check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast. And now your host, Micah Chrisman.
Hello, welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast, where we explore art, activism, spirituality, and our cosmic significance / insignificance. I switched it up that time. Figured I might start leading with that. I don't want people to feel like they're insignificant because I say so. We want to be able to explore what our significance is together. On that note, I'm here with Jessie Van Der Vyver. If I just say it really fast, then I don't butcher pronunciation, but I'm sure I did anyways.
What do you think I do?
Jessie is a multidisciplinary creative. He works in commercial, narrative, television industry. He grew up as a hardcore Christian, and over the past 6 years has been transitioning and changing his beliefs. We've worked together on several projects, and over the years. We actually were just trying to recall how we first met, and to me, that's
fuzzy.
It's fuzzy, real fuzzy, and I think that's some of the best kind of friendships. Honestly, it's like you can't really pinpoint a moment when it's like, oh yeah, that's when we shook hands and like met each other. It's like we just kind of floated in each other's lives, like I remember
I'm in existence, and we are in existence. And we meet in the middle.
We just like pop up in each other's lives when the computer simulation says, okay, this is where their journeys cross here on this side quest.
Yes.
So one of those side quests was a project called Live KC.
Yeah.
And so that was one another, like those moments of like, hey, I know you. And you're there doing sound and operating the boom mic and stuff. And so that was like a week long, like kind of mini documentary storytelling kind of stuff. And then I feel like we just ran each other, pop up all the time.
Yeah, just randomly, which is great.
And he's got some beautiful like projects he's gonna be working on, so we're gonna get into that. Mm-hmm. Jessie, what do you got over there? What kind of concoction witch's brew are you working on over there?
So I'm drinking what's known as yerba mate, which is a tea from Argentina. It's full of vitamins, minerals, and a shit ton of caffeine.
Hell yeah.
I've
never even heard of that,
dude. So it's from South America. Like this is typically how it looks. There you can have bigger ones in a like actual gourd. Like it's crazy. So I had a friend that used to sell yerba mate, and before that I had a friend that was a missionary who like got me into yerba mate, and so like I'm in this weird spiel. Like I don't know if people saw, but I have like a little glass jar with green stuff in it.
Yeah, when he pulled it out, I thought you were about to load a bong. I was like, oh, okay, so it's going to be that kind of episode.
It's
okay, all
that
right.
kind of show.
We're going to be smoking some reefer. I mean, it is legal in Missouri now.
Dude, yeah, but not Kansas. Dude, I've been pulled over so many times and like had my gourd in my cup holder. And like, just because I had a friend that sold it and I'm like a hella nerd and like love researching things and like I might be leaning on the spectrum of things. I just info dumped on like any cop that like starts questioning me about it. Like I just info dump. Like it's full of so many vitamins and minerals. It has manganese, selenium. I feel
like the cop's just like, all right, you don't need the ticket. I won't give it to you. Fine, just please,
dude. I know.
Don't subject me to this. I will just let you off with a warning.
Dude, it's great. Like this one time, like coming back from Lawrence, like I got pulled over and they searched my car because they saw a green leafy substance. And they were like, yeah, you're free to go. And I just kept them there and kept talking about it. And they were like,
well,
okay.
While we're here.
And then they just messed with their walkies. And they were like, we have to go.
Sorry. We got a code blue. Yeah. We got a code whatever. I got to dip out. I'm real sorry about that.
Granted, this was at 3 a.m. too.
Oh, that's amazing.
I got done doing a shoot out there, and I made mate to help me get home. Yeah.
Well, that sounds probably more healthy than smoking substances. But this reminds me of a friend. Shout out to Tommy, close friend of mine, and he's got some funny stories. He's a real big hookah smoker.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever partaken of.
Yeah.
My family.
I was in youth group once.
You were in youth. Okay, yeah, that's why I figured. Like, it was at some point like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old thing where it was like hookah bars were like the place to go if you weren't old enough to go drinking, and so you just go to. And my family was not convinced it wasn't pot. They were just like, "What is this hookah business that you're out here going to hookah bars and smoking?" I'm like,
it's not real cigarettes.
It's just 100 cigarettes over the course of an hour, Mom.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just leave it alone. But anyways, he has this whole rig or setup where he likes to drive and have a hookah.
Oh
set
my
up.
God, that sounds so like Middle Eastern.
Oh yeah,
so.
And he worked with some Middle Eastern people like in restaurants and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
But he had a moment, like a night, where him and some buddies were like, I don't know, they were on this kind of cross-state road trip, and he had the hookah in the back seat, and he had like this whole thing rigged. Like he built a box for it to like keep it upright, keep it from falling over and burning them alive. And they got pulled over by the cops, and I'm not even going to go at all. I mean, the story, it just doesn't do it justice. One day, maybe I'll get him on the show to tell the whole story. But
Heck yeah.
Like, it comes to the point where, like, they think they're getting a big bust. And they're, like, got these guys out on the curb, like,
so
face
great.
down in handcuffs. And they're just all standing around looking at this contraption, like, what is this new elevated drug experience? What
Oh my
is
God.
this?
And it's just tobacco.
Like, they had guns in the car, and like the next day when they were like being released and stuff, because I think there was like a little bit of marijuana and like a pipe or something.
Yeah.
So they end up like have to like get bailed out or something, and they got just like some bullshit, Florida ticket for having a little bit.
Yeah.
They gave them back their guns. They gave them back like all their shit except for the hookah in the box. They just like, no, this thing needs to be quarantined. Whatever this.
Oh my God.
We need to. I don't know if they're going to.
We need to study this.
We need to study this. This is going to be in our cadet school.
Oh my God.
The future of like kids and their vapings and their.
Are your kids hookahing in their car?
Are your kids in the car? This is your brain on drugs of hookah. This is your brains off scrambled eggs.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you're being healthy. I'm doing dry January.
Heck yeah.
So that's been feeling good. Yeah, just kind of, take the opportunity for the new year.
Do a nice little reset.
Yeah. Yeah, just like kind of one of those things where you don't realize how much you partake in it until you're like going out and hanging out with friends and they're like, you're at a bar and you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not drinking, It's
Yeah.
It's like not a big thing of like, oh, I have this like alcohol problem at home, but it was just like, oh, okay, I'm out here hanging out with people and I'm not going to drink. So
yeah.
It's been really good, been really healthy, So I got my substitute here, my Arizona tea,
When I've gone out, I've done bitters and soda water.
Oh, that's smart.
Because it's like a little bit of flavor or something. Yeah, and it's like not alcoholic enough.
Right.
Yeah.
That's genius. Yeah, I didn't really know what to order. I was like, I don't really want to order soda and stuff, so I just drank water. And I felt like I was like, this is the most hydrated I've ever been leaving a bar. Like, this is the most.
I'm breaking the seal every 5
like,
minutes.
I literally, I really did. I broke, like, I had to pee so bad when I got home. And I was like, this was just water. That's just amazing. The compulsion of just, all right, I'm keeping up. I'm having my cups of water.
Heck yeah. Don't mind if I love it.
Yeah, last time we were hanging out, and everybody on the show can thank Jessie because the miracle that is recording on cameras and audio. I've had so many like troubleshooting errors, and just this guy like helped me like beyond words. Like, I mean, I need you to understand, like, you shaved off probably like 3 hours of editing per episode. Like, just a fucking hand clap for this guy, this audio engineer genius. Oh. And the last time he was here, you were saying that you were going to a transcendental meditation the next day.
Yeah.
And so you were kind of doing the same thing of like limiting any kind of influencing substances, just kind of like a physical detox to kind of prepare for the mental journey. Yeah. So what was that like?
So I'm a very skeptical person and very cynical, but also very optimistic at the same time. So like, going into it, I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about transcendental meditation. Like the Christian stuff that I grew up in, it was like, it's demonic. It's like you're talking to demons and then like reading everything about it. It's like, oh, it's only demonic because it's an Eastern religion, not religion, but it's an Eastern practice that some people that are in Eastern religions use and do. So therefore, it's demonic. But the basis of Christianity was Eastern in origin. So
if it's not Western Christianity,
yeah. So
cross.
what? There's brown people. It must be demonic. That's yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, so one of like my big heroes in like creative stuff and like directing style and like general like interaction with people is like David Lynch, and he talks highly of it, of transcendental meditation. So my wife and I were like, hey, like we want to try this. Like we've done like the inner healing stuff with Christian stuff. We've done talk therapy. We've tried like medicinal mushrooms. We've tried like everything. We're like, let's just do this. And I mean, I'm a weekend and it's pretty tight. I'm trying to think, is there any like specifics that you're thinking you want me to hit on it?
Just kind of, I mean, yeah, I imagine you can't, I mean, I know it's a cult following too, you said,
dude,
so we can't probably know what actually happened behind closed doors.
Yeah.
You have to like, no.
Yeah. So
you were just saying that like apparently, yeah, a bunch of California white people took hold of it. Were like, yes, this is our identity now.
Oh yeah. Oh dude, totally. Like it's with anything that's like not like American, like you have so many people that like jump on it and they're like, this is my personality, this is who I am. And like I feel like same with like the teachings of Jesus, like Maharishi, the guy who brought the technique to the States in the 60s, he like gave his teachings, gave his lectures and all of that, and like people went and ran with it rather than like listening to what he was actually saying. Like they were like, oh, this is this now.
Just like the people who immediately learn Namaste.
Yeah.
For the yoga, like, Namaste.
Yeah. My so the guy, my teacher that like taught me the technique, and it's so the transcendental meditation technique isn't like you're forcing your mind, you're not forcing your thoughts, you're not restricting things, you're more so agreeing and preferring. Like they give you a mantra, but it's not a like you have to focus on this means something. It's it like the correlation that I had is like when in the Christian circles speaking in tongues, you're speaking in a language that you don't know, but you just keep repeating it and like, but you're being intentional with it. You're not just running your mouth. And so it's like you're focusing on anytime like you're thinking, you're just saying this phrase over and over, or like this one syllable thing as you're breathing, and then like your body and your mind start to like hone in and focus. And the picture within the teachings that they give is like the mind is like the ocean. At the top it's very tumultuous, but as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, it's calmer, and it's like it's harder for things to impact, like if you're going down or if you're moving around. Like that's the picture that they give. Like it's not so much noise, which is something that I kind of noticed like within the first like few days, and I'm like, holy shit, like I don't feel as anxious. I don't feel as like chaotic.
That's a great metaphor.
Dude.
Yeah, the ocean and going deeper. And so with like, what is the transcendent part? Is it kind of like the goal is to, because you said you're not trying to force your mind into this, like, don't think about work and don't think about this experiences, but what is the ideal, like, transcending?
Yeah. So like with at least what I understand with the transcendence is you're not letting your mind focus on every single thought, and any thought that comes up when you're meditating, like they say that it's the body itself, it's the mind releasing stress, and you can either agree and keep following that, or prefer the mantra that has no meaning but helps you go deeper, because one of the teachings is like the mind wants to follow and go deeper and deeper naturally. That's why
Wow.
You keep trying to get the same experience, but you have to keep upping your dose. You have to whatever in general, because the mind is craving something deeper. And the transcendent part is you're getting to the floor of the ocean, and then you're becoming one with the floor of the ocean. And that's pure consciousness, every thing says, but it's just existing with no thoughts driving you, not being led by anything, but just being there for a moment, in the silence. And it's super interesting. And I still don't understand it. I'm still skeptical. I'm still I don't even know if this is working, but I feel like it's working.
I'll try it.
Yeah,
whatever helps with my anxiety,
Dude, yeah. And I don't know, it's funny because a lot of the teachings are you don't hold on to the thoughts, but if there's something that resonates and it's still present after your meditation, then logically consider it.
Okay.
Think about it with logic, because a lot of times a lot of people when they go meditate and they're doing that forceful I'm using all my effort to not think about something, and then they have a thought and they're like, during my meditation I had this thought. And it's no, that doesn't mean it's important. It just means your brain was bringing that up.
Squirrel.
Yeah, pretty much. And the whole thing within and it could be their technique of teaching is it's effortless. It's you come innocently, you do this without forcing anything, and it gets easy. That could be that conditioning of if you tell someone yeah, placebo effect. It could be that, or it could be actually it's true. And so I'm still
You're is this a placebo pill, or is it tapping into something real? And probably the real is what you discover for yourself, kind of thing,
And people can go through the course. I'm just aware that it can be kind of culty, some of the following and some of the things, but I see the reason behind it of they want it to be a one-on-one, one teacher teaching one person.
Oh, so you weren't in a room with a bunch of people?
No,
it
was just me with one person, and kind of talked through the thing, and then so
that sounds really cool though, being able to be interpersonal that way with I was picturing a room of 20 people.
Oh no, it's one person, and they're set aside 2 hours. It may be an hour, so yeah.
Did it feel time went by fast or slow? Because I've heard
for me it felt like it went by fast, and I was super surprised. And I don't know, I like that they have a sliding scale, and it's based on the honor system of going through the course. But they have emphasis on those that are veterans, those suffering from PTSD, those that are abuse victims. They have grants for those people to go through the course.
Wow.
Which is well, that's crazy. That's great. And I realized it's funny. A lot of people that I had interacted with that said that they did transcendental meditation, I was like, you're a little weird. I don't like this. And I then realized after talking to them further and hearing their story, and it's oh, you've been through a bunch of war, and this is your entire body, and the way that you interact and perceive the world has been affected because of war, because of that. And this is what you're doing to help combat that. And so I felt like shit because I was immediately judging people. You're a
weirdo. Meditating, that's you we alluded to at the beginning, you kind of grew up similar probably Christian past that I did.
Yeah.
And so anything like you said that wasn't Western theology, Christian theology, anything that had the words meditation was definitely deemed like
Demonic, evil.
demonic, evil. You're inviting spirits
Yeah,
into your body and fit, your spirit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you've mentioned something about praying in tongues, and that's something that is kind of a weird experience for me, because like that was the kind of like church and culture I was part of, was like very much believed in miracles, signs and wonders, praying in tongues. And so for years I prayed in tongues.
Yeah.
Just kind of like learn to like basically almost go into a trance-like state.
Yeah.
And just utter nonsense. And it would like invariably like be very healing for me.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, and apparently there's all these studies where they study people who are speaking in tongues, and it's like the only like the people who practice and do it all the time. And again, everyone go research this yourself. I could be giving you totally,
but I know what you're
bullshit. But I know that
yeah.
there's, I've heard or read some stuff that they actually did like studying neurological firing and stuff, and like basically it was just their the electrical signals of speaking was working, but like their mind and all like the prefrontal cortex, all that was like inactive during. So there's just weird things like that truthfully was a loss to me when I like kind of walked away from my faith, or kind of had this whole faith deconstruction where it's like, at first it was just like, it's just bullshit and nonsense that I'm uttering. But then I found like myself like in some like very dire, like if I just had like a really shitty day, or I don't like, it'll come back.
Oh,
like,
dude, same.
I can pray in tongues.
Yeah.
Like not on command, really, kind of, maybe. I won't do it for you now.
Yeah,
but
yeah. We can go for it.
Someone will, now any Christian will watch it, they'll be like, that's the Satan's tongues now. Like,
oh my God.
Because apparently there's a altered dark version of tongues.
Always. There's always something. Like if there can be a Christian version, there can be a
the dichotomy of like good and bad, white and black. Yeah, with Christian worldview. So if you pray in tongues and you're not necessarily a professing Christian anymore, it must be Satan tongues. But it was just like something that was a loss for me. And when I started to engage in meditative practices again, kind of my brain finding that river, that kind of like inlet of flow again, that was very similar to tongues. And so I don't know. It's all weird, and that's why I like exploring it, because it's like I'm not here to give anyone answers of like, Christianity is the right way, because tongues is like actually a phenomenon that, because one could argue the same thing with Buddhist meditation or any kind of they've done the same studies where like, hey, there's like parts of the brain are shutting off, and like they're hyper focused on these.
They've done the same studies with like transcendental meditation as well.
Yeah.
Like it's like it overlaps, and I definitely think it's something with like you're using a phrase that your mind isn't able to focus on, but only the parts of the body that like create the word are like firing. So it's like your brain is like, what the hell are we doing? And like you're just rowing or digging or like whatever is like words. Just
words.
Just say your things.
Yeah, I've heard another metaphor I heard or someone described as like as part, again, this might not relate to transcendental meditation, but in meditation in general, when you're trying to, like you said, focus on that mantra, focus on like reaching that ocean floor. Yeah. They said, and your mind suddenly is disrupted and resurfaces, to think about a work email or something else. They said they kind of gave me an example of like, picture yourself at like a stream. Again, water metaphors seem to be really good for meditation.
It works.
It works real well.
We're like what 75% water or something like
that. Preach it. We're getting somewhere. But like, there was something like when the thought arises, it's kind of like, it'd be like stopping to pick up a stone in the river. Yeah. And just like, okay, you're here now. Like, look at that thought. I have an email. Take note of it, and then just gracefully set it back in the river and keep the flow going. Yeah. But like don't try to resist and be angry at yourself because your mind stopped to like look at this thing
Yeah.
and focus on it. I don't know if that relates or if they gave
Well,
you
yeah,
similar strategies.
Yeah,
for-
the metaphor that they gave, again, still in the ocean, is like you have, there's some things that are like trauma based that your body remembers. Like your body does remember traumatic things and stressors and things.
Yeah.
And it's like a bubble that is coming up from the ocean floor, like something really deep down there, like traumatic. And like the bubbles are just coming up. And so like they're hitting you as you're trying to dig deeper and keep going. But again, they're bubbles and they're going past. Like you can look and experience them and like feel that pain or that trauma, or just, oh, the body is saying, hey, this is something that's stressing me out. You can just let it move on. Like let it release. Another one is like it's a fish flying by, or a school of fish that are swimming by, that they can pull your attention. But in the teaching, it's like consider the prefer the mantra over the thought.
Okay.
And so like you can get lost in that. It's fine. Like if that's what happens, if that whatever, but when you remember, like you're not like saying that rhythmic thing, go back to it. So
Wow. So you said you kind of went to the like class, and then now you've been are you trying to incorporate into like daily routine, or is it kind of like
so they made a request. They said it's not a requirement. Like no, like they're not very religious about it, but they're like, we suggest this, like no alcohol, no drugs, like during this like 2-week period of their course. And yeah, I've been doing it 2 times a day, and it's been tight.
Wow.
Like super fun. Like out of a couple of the sessions, like meditation sessions that I've done, it's been like I've had like a refreshed or renewed like creativity for things. And so like I've been writing things down. I've been like working on a lot more things and having like a better focus for like tasks in front of me. And then also saying, hey, I don't want to do this. Like this doesn't work for me. Like some work things and like some like projects that I was working on with some other people, just like, hey, like I'm going to put a pause on this right now. Like this isn't serving me, and I'm kind of doing it out of a place of unhealth, not being healthy.
Yeah.
And like it just like the whole thing just helped me to like stand back and look. And another thing is like I've noticed that I'm more sensitive to like interactions with people, and like feeling like someone's energy or whatever. And it's super weird because like I'm a very heady person, very in my head, and I'm like, yeah, screw your feelings, screw your like I don't feel anything kind of thing. And then like I'm like, oh, they're really hurting right now. And it hits me hard. I'm like, this is a weird experience.
So it's like increasing your perceptivity.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like you're like, am I Spider-Man? Like,
Yeah.
Like, let me try to shoot some web. Do I have superpowers now?
Yeah.
Spidey senses tingling.
Spidey senses tingling.
I think it's really important, like what you just brought up too, and it resonates with me as far as like struggling with boundaries.
Oh yeah.
And I've done it for years. Whatever it is, I'm bad about advocating for myself when like
you want to be helpful, you want to be liked, you want to serve. And like I know for me it came from like the church.
Yes.
Like that upbringing of like, I want to have a servant's heart.
Right.
I want God to love me.
You come
more.
second in front of like somebody else or the ministry. And I've done that too with like the nonprofit jobs I've had, where it's like, okay, I just need to like, suck it up for the cause. Yeah. Just get out there. I'm a fucking white dude. I should just do it. It's funny how you could just trade one like set of shames, like Christian, like I'm just a worm. I'm worthless. God, I'll never be good in God's eyes. And then just like center yourself again in like bullshit ways to be like,
dude,
Oh, woe is me. I'm a white man. I should
The
just.
body remembers trauma and prefers it. Wait, what?
I know. And I know it's like
Yeah.
for self-preservation and it's meant
Oh,
to
yeah.
try to protect, but
No, definitely.
it can be like that's neuronal wiring
Mhm.
happening in our brain. So I think that's what I get excited about, like with meditative practices or like using that as a way to be more self-aware and understand like,
Yeah.
okay, why am I feeling like, someone's asked me to help do something. I said yes, but I feel this honest like gut thing of like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I just shortcut. My brain just shortcut to, you're gonna feel better after you go help that person and do it, and you never do.
Yeah,
You're gonna do it, and then you're gonna feel bitter that you didn't just take time for yourself
Yep.
and be honest with your feelings.
No,
And
definitely.
like that's what you needed to do. But the shortcut, the lie was, oh, okay, I want to feel self-fulfilled through other people's view of me.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit. Like
it's not
I can't.
healthy.
Yeah, it's like it's not that it's a bad thing that like we all get good feels, good chemical vibes when we help or when we're
Yeah.
there for a friend. But when it becomes toxic is when it makes that shift where it's like I
Mhm.
have to do this thing or I have to endure a conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that too, where like I'm putting up with someone's like just bullshit rambling about something and just
Yeah.
like I'm trying to show grace and understanding, but I also just like I've been better about like separating myself. Like, all right, I'm
gonna walk away now.
I'm gonna walk away now. I'm not gonna just keep feeding.
Or introduce them to
This
someone
dialogue.
else and say, "Hey, have you met them?" And just walk off.
If you ever see me doing that, just know I love you people, and I'm not trying to just avoid you. Micah, you just did that the other day. No,
It's a diet.
don't
thing.
pawn me off, Micah. Don't pawn me off. Just
Yes.
look me in the eyes and say you don't like talking to me. No.
Oh my god. It's great.
No, but like I don't know, just with family or friends. It's just we always want to be there for people, but I really respect people who are just like, hey, can you help? Can you do this thing? No, I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
And don't give me a reason. Don't try to give an excuse. And it's
Yeah.
just like, cool, no worries.
Yeah.
I have to, yeah. So I don't know. I think meditation, if it can help with those everyday things, how much less anxiety can we create in our lives that isn't just like self-perpetuated?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, okay, I have a very hectic, chaotic life. Also, I have autonomy and control over how much
Oh, yeah.
chaotic hecticness I allow in my life.
Yeah.
And so if I just practice that, I won't need Xanax or whatever pills
Yeah.
the big pharma wants to give me.
Yes.
Again, take your pills if you got to take your pills.
If
I'm
you need
not,
them,
I'm not
take
judging
them.
people.
Yeah.
But I think, like, I don't know, with anything that's medicinal properties, like even you brought up like psilocybin, I think the same kind of thing that, like, whether you are on prescription medication or whatever, if you can do that in conjunction with these kind of practices,
Yeah.
I think that, because, like, I don't know, just like someone even gave me just some really good advice. Like, when you wake up in the morning, don't like, yeah, I hit the alarm because it's on my phone.
Yeah.
But don't immediately go sit on the toilet and start flipping through TikTok. Don't
That's
just.
so hard.
It's so hard, dude. And sometimes, like, I feel like, okay, I need to wake up. So, like, and I'm here on the, I've got nothing else to do. I'm going to read an article or start doing some social scrolling. And it's like, but when you give yourself that 30-minute, like, I've noticed, like, when I just give myself that 30 minutes to an hour, how much less anxious I feel about the start of my day.
Dude, okay. So the practices, the meditation, the transcendental meditation practice, they say 2 times a day. They suggest once in the morning and then once before your evening meal. Some people do like before lunch. But I've noticed that if I am on my phone before I do my morning one, like, it's like it takes me extra long time to actually get to like a centered point. And like, I mean, time just is going by fast, but like it just feels like more chaotic because I've like
Yes.
awakened that part of the brain of like all of the dopamine that it's seeking and like all of the stressors and all of the negativity of like the different algorithms like trying to keep you like scrolling, and I'm like, But then the days that I'm like actually like, you know what? I'm not going to look at my phone. Like, I'm going to take a notepad and write down whatever thoughts I have before I meditate, and then I'm going to meditate. And then I come out of it and I'm like, hell yeah, let's take on the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't I keep doing that?
I know, dude. It's same thing with like, I don't know, for me going to the gym or any of these other like healthier practices. Like I feel great after I do the thing.
Yeah.
But why is it such a big mental buildup to like go get to the gym, do the exercises, and like reap the reward afterwards?
Yeah.
And I guess the point is like, you're not always going to get those feel good chemical rewards. And the more it just becomes habit and habitual, the more it becomes ingrained in your everyday life. And that's kind of like with any of these practices, right? Like, we're not going to just transform one day and suddenly I'm this very Zen person who
it's a day by day and take it as it comes kind of thing.
Yeah. And there's gonna be days where we do better than others, but for me, I just always wonder like the people who like whatever in this world or but then they're making TikToks about it. I'm like, how do you do that? How do you
what structure do you have in your life?
Right. Yeah. To be like, all right, now we're going to do a meditation practice and this is how you incorporate your daily life. But you had to take time to film it. I guess one could argue I'm doing the same thing with this podcast.
How
like,
meta
I want to explore,
and ironic can you get?
Right. Don't look at social media bullshit. Oh, but unless you're watching Pray for Micah stuff.
Also, check out my social media.
Also, check out Pray for Micah Pod on TikTok, Instagram.
Oh my God. So good.
Well, I heard someone say, and I don't necessarily like the word diet, but I did hear someone say once that, just kind of like how we have to be conscientious of our food intake, same thing with our like digital intake, like technology, and like basically, kind of having like a technology diet. We're like, okay, I'm going to constrain myself. Okay, I'm not going to do it the first hour. I wake up and I'm going to do something else instead. And I think that those little shifts, eventually play out into bigger impacts in our everyday behaviors.
I know my wife has on her phone, she has like her Instagram, Facebook, and whatever other social media, like limited to 2 hours total for all of it. So like it's funny because she's gotten extremely productive and I'm like, I'm above that. And I'm like, I mean,
I've transcended that. I can float in and out.
I mean, granted, like self-worth isn't based in like productivity, but it's just like,
sure.
I'm seeing like, oh man, you're doing the thing that you've been wanting to do. And I am not. Okay.
I'm still over here scrolling. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And it does feel good. And that's why like I told myself if I don't have any New Year's resolutions per se, but my intentions, or if you want to put it that way, is like, okay, less self-sabotaging. And I feel like that's like an example of that. It's like, you're right. It's not about trying to just, because there's a whole capitalistic model, right? Be a productive person. Mm-hmm. Like if you're not maximizing all your time, working on your personal projects, working on yourself, then these things become work. And that's not the goal. It's to detach from work or detach from that matrix living.
You're not meant to be a worker.
Right. And but I self-sabotage when it's like, oh, I start to do the good things. I start to like fulfill the projects, and it's like, all right, now it's time to binge watch 5 hours of The Walking Dead. Which I did this week.
It's great.
The last season was pretty good. Yeah.
There's no condemnation.
It needed
in Christ
to end,
Jesus. Wait, what?
Amen. Preach it, brother. So can we explore that? Like, so what was like? You said the last 6 years that you in like what I read earlier, and so I'm curious, like, what was like that time frame? It was very specific, so that's why I was like, what happened to you 6 years ago? As the church would like to know. Like,
dude, yeah.
What happened to you?
So it's interesting. Like I have to go way back. So I was in a crap ton of different denominations as a young one, a youngster, a little kid. Was in non-denominational, like family. Like my family was very open to questioning a lot of things and like just saying, hey, that doesn't seem right. And we got asked to leave a lot of churches. Like, hey, it's weird that you're doing that from the pulpit. What? why are there motorcycles on the stage, and why are we playing this secular music, like things like that, or like, why is the pastor constantly saying that everyone needs to listen to what he says, not what Jesus says? Or like, hey, why when you're reading like a passage in the Bible do you skip over like a lot of different points to just make a point that is unrelated to this? I was really big into hermeneutics, like as a 10-year-old. Like I was
same.
homeschooled, and like, no, I had a lot of friends, but not a lot of friends, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was popular with a lot of people, but I was also, my dad let me listen to like the Ramones, so I was too secular for a lot of these homeschool kids. So none of them wanted to hang out or were allowed to. So I was on Wikipedia. I was reading Bible commentaries, and like I was the annoying kid that was like asking questions a lot. And also because of my parents just don't agree with what authority says, like question it is like what I learned. And so yeah, we got
That's a good
Yeah.
like thing to pass down,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So got kicked out of a lot of churches, and like my mom had an experience where it was like the last church that we kind of like got kicked out of in Memphis, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
you didn't grow up here. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
you grew up here, but how long like have you lived in Kansas City?
We moved here, I think, end of 2008.
Okay.
So yeah, however many years that is. So yeah, my mom said that she heard the voice of God say, "Go to Kansas City," and randomly, like the next month, someone gave her a CD from the International House of Prayer.
Oh
And
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Favorite Diet Colt, and
Favorite diet cult.
yeah,
Yeah, there might be less diet than we think.
yeah. And we were like, "What's this? This is weird." And then next year we visited, and we were like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like, it's not as racist as it is in Memphis, and like, there's people my age that I've befriended, like, and I just moved, like, I'm visiting, and they want me to hang out with them. What is this? Like, I've never had that, because it was all very, like, oh, you're not in our clique, we don't want to hang out with you, kind of stuff. So all of that was in IHOP, did the school thing, did the media thing. I then left to go make more money because it's hard to pay bills and do anything without. It's hard to do anything living in a like poverty mindset.
Right.
And
Which church is really good about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, we growing up poor, it was just like, well, Jesus was really poor. So
yeah, you have to be like Jesus.
yeah.
But Jesus was a carpenter, so he had okay.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I started working jobs and things, like worked at Musician's Friend. I worked at a apartment complex as a groundskeeper, as a maintenance man, and then as a leasing consultant. And then like in that kind of like, okay, what's happening like with my faith? Like that was probably like 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And or no, it was 7 years ago. And then I started working at Musician's Friend, met a guy who like was working as a touring musician, and kind of took him as my mentor. And I was like, "You're my mentor." And he was like, "No, you're my friend." I was like, "Okay, tight." And so like I quit that job and did the whole like I'm a musician, I'm a traveling musician, and I'm back in the same thing of like poverty. Like, what am I doing? Started working in the film industry and like seeing like more people, like broadening my perspective. I think really what I'm trying to say is like I've broadened my perspective past a lot of things, and like being able to step away, take a breath, not live in the world, because like a lot of the core tenets of like the teachings of Jesus are like things that resonate heavy with me, and like it's a big overlap of the teachings of Jesus for like within Buddhism, within Hinduism, like how you interact with people, how you treat the world around you, and how you carry yourself. So I don't know. And then doing a lot of personal research, since like a lot of my like self-worth as a kid was tied up in Bible knowledge and like understanding like, what did Calvin say? What did he mean when he meant this? What did Saint Augustine mean when this? And like, well, what was the hermeneutical context of this? And like, I didn't preface it earlier, but hermeneutics has to do with the original context of the historical document that you're referencing. And within Christianity, there's an eisegesis interpretation or an exegesis interpretation. Eisegesis is your applying meaning to it, and then exegesis is your taking meaning away from it. So like those are the different interpretations of it, and like the right one is knowing the full context and applying that to what you're trying to say or what someone else is saying.
Basically, you need to learn Latin, Greek, and Hebrew if you really want to get the original context of what what that means. And
which I did take a Greek course just so I could read in the New Testament the phrase concerning homosexuality.
Interesting.
Like, just because like I was like, everyone told me it means this, and then like I'm like, I don't think so.
Oh, it's actually child like rapists, basically.
Yeah. Well, like it means someone who is in authority taking advantage of.
Oh, interesting.
So that is like, that would be taking advantage of someone sexually because of their power. And so like the phrasing has to do with denying someone their autonomy. And like with that context, it's like, oh dude, this is a completely different like throw within. You got a lot of bad people that think they're good.
Right.
But
yeah, they're all going to hell the same as liars and these other like things that.
Yeah.
And then hell, hell can be, is like, I've heard like, yeah, there's different words for what hell is. And we've been told this story that it's a literal lake of fire burning in another dimensional plane that our soul goes to. And Jesus was referring to a place right outside the city gates.
Yeah, like a burning trash pit.
Yeah.
Like it was an allegory. It wasn't a literal thing. Yeah. I didn't give like a clear like reason of like the 6 years. I just feel like the 6 years was like enough time away from church stuff that I needed, like that I was going to every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday night kind of thing. Like enough space from that, and then time to like journal, think, and process through stuff, get therapy, talk about things with other people, and understand, oh, like a lot of the things that I went through, that's not good, and I need to actually get healing for that. And I chose to not take like the bitter path for a lot of things, but like the calling things out as I see it, like within myself or within like ministry stuff, and just being honest. And like, again, like not a lot of people like that when you say like, hey, you're emotionally manipulating someone, like, and you're trying to pay them less. Like, that's not good. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. That's first of all, that's just really cool that, because I know like my goal has been trying not to go the bitterness route either. And I bet it's inevitable to some cases, like if you've put your faith and stock in a system of beliefs that have very narrowly given you an image of who Jesus was and what the Bible and all the stories in it contain, and how we have to treat Jonah and the whale as literal, and just whatever. Just like, I get that there's so much more beautiful, enriching things in the scriptures that I can get now.
Yeah.
With kind of an unfiltered kind of, it's still it's an uphill battle for me though, because I can't help but, when I re-engage that part of my life and try to like read those scriptures or whatever, while I know that it's not a blank slate for me. I can't, and so then I want to be bitter because, well, like I said, even going back to things like praying in tongues, where it's like, oh, I lost something. I had this like meditative practice as a Christian for so many years.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was meditation.
Yeah.
But like when I went through my faith deconstruction, suddenly I'm not enriching my life with these practices. And then now on this journey to figure out those other practices that are parallel or have similar kind of goals isn't the right word, but same kind of outcomes it's wishing for you.
Yeah.
And basically, not letting the bitterness hold me back from trying to see that maybe there's something deeper in the world. And it's funny, you were talking about growing up homeschooled. I also was homeschooled, so that meant that all of my textbooks were all like creationist scientists. Like,
dude, yeah.
Like there would be like, this is the mitochondria, and they would have like some legit things.
And then there's a cross on the mitochondria.
Right.
Like,
And then, there's just like a whole like before that chapter, a paragraph about how, during creation, when God made all the animals and plants on this day, that's when all these things came into being. And then now we have all this science to share with you. And so it's just funny because like I am, 33 years old, and I like am obsessed with like PBS Digital Studios.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And I watch like all their like science or like eons like channels about dinosaurs. And I'm like telling friends, like, did you know that this, the master...
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Did you? Yeah, like, yeah, seriously. I just like, they're like, yeah, Micah, we know because we went to public school.
like dang it.
We know how old the Earth is. Yeah, did you know the Earth is?
Oh my God.
13.
So great.
And
dude, okay, I mean, just info dump for a second.
Yeah.
Like, because again, I have words. My favorite like mind fuck like fact that I like heard, I don't know, last year, and it just sits so well and uncomfortably with me, is like I think the oldest recorded human writings is like 10,000 years old, but the existence of humans is traced back to over 100,000 years. So it's like the history of recorded human history is like 1/10 of human existence. And it's like, this is great and terrifying at the same time. I love it.
Yeah,
and
you realize how small you are pretty quickly once you like realize the Earth is not 6,000 years old, and God just dumped all Adam and Eve, and the whole flow of the world's events unfolded after that.
Yeah.
You realize like, oh yeah, like. And just like you're saying, all those, tens of thousands of years of shit, there could have been science and technology we have no idea existed back then. Ways of remedying illnesses and healing and stuff. And you brought up something earlier before we started the episode about pagan Christianity. And so if we want to talk about that for a second, because, as an, Scotch-Irish guy, I have to come to recognize that, like, yeah, if Rome and if they hadn't come and fucking conquered, all the Celts and stuff, I'd be practicing a totally different form of faith.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Some real pagan shit. And so it's really funny because, you got all these white European evangelicals who are like, this is the definition of our faith and our ancestor history and stuff. And it's like, actually, you're probably a descendant of a druid who probably did a lot of like animal sacrificing.
Yeah.
No.
There's a couple of like pagan Scottish people that I follow just because it's like interesting, because they're like, this is what we have found is the teachings of this. And it's like, oh, like a lot of things are like, treat the earth right. Like,
right.
Burn a fire every once in a while. Do this. And I'm like, that's great. Like, but
throw some rune stones down, you know?
Yeah. Have a good time.
Magic mushrooms.
Yeah. Amanita muscaria.
I need to have a pagan on, like a true pagan on the
Oh,
show,
dude,
just
yeah.
so I'll stop, giving the Hollywood Cliff Notes versions of it.
Oh, dude, hell yeah. Yeah. So the book Pagan Christianity, Frank Viola, he like regularly says, "Look, I'm not a smart guy. Look, I'm not like a scholar, but this is just a project that I did, and I partnered with a lot of scholars in like this research, and some things are like have been disproven, some things haven't, but generally the overall thing is like the history of Christianity has been very pragmatic. Like, oh, if we assume this like holiday, we won't get persecuted because they won't know that we're not celebrating what they're celebrating. Like, oh, like if we meet on the same day, we won't get persecuted. Like things like that. But it also then goes into once like after Constantine's Roman Empire, Christianity was the faith of the Romans, and like that's when a lot of things within Christianity kind of melded into what we have today. Like it was a popular thing of orators like traveling, giving their speeches and then receiving money after their speech. Meeting on the Sunday was a big thing. Like Rome was known for taking many religions and throwing them all together, and like whichever flavor of the month was the religion of Rome. So like that's where like I believe a lot of things kind of went downhill. But I mean, before that, like they went and killed a bunch of Gnostics. They killed anyone that didn't believe. Like the Christians killed a lot of people that didn't believe what they did. So like it's kind of in the bloodline of the church to like, eradicate people that don't believe what you believe.
And I heard it was like, if I recall the history, it was like a pretty short window turnaround. It was like from Constantine instituting it as like the new like state faith.
Yeah.
To like within 100 years, they were persecuting people who didn't.
Yeah.
Just like 100 years before that.
Yeah.
Like they were killing Christians, feeding them to lions in the Colosseum and all this, and we always like want to talk about that in the church, like the persecution time frame, and all the apostles and everybody was killed over the course after Jesus, had, resurrected and ascended and all that. We want to like skip the part where like, oh yeah, but within 100 years, they then went on a 1,500 year conquest.
Yeah.
Never mind. It led to the Crusades and,
Yeah.
I don't know. It baffles me. Just again, when you think about humanity and history and just what critical events could have unfolded that played out differently, and we'd have a whole different world today. One of the things I read or heard was about Cyrus the Great. And this was like, kind of more ancient world before Rome and everything. And they were basically had conquered the Jews and like, Israel and Judah and all that. And they were in captivity. But then what they basically like he's praised in the Bible. Like the Jewish people praise him.
Yeah.
And saying he's like a godsend because he let them keep their faith. So unlike all the other previous conqueror, like Babylon and all this stuff, like they were trying to eradicate the Jewish faith and stuff. It was like when Cyrus the Great, he just wanted to create a huge empire. So he was like, okay, cool. Now you pay a tax, but you get to keep all your traditions.
Yeah.
We won't burn all your documents and your temples. You get to keep all of it. And so, like just that difference, like he could have eradicated them and we wouldn't have, Judaism, but even Christianity that spawned from Judaism and all the faiths that have like diverged since then over the few thousand years. And just like that one moment, so some people look at it as like, see, it's God's divine intervention. Well, then why didn't God protect these other people?
Yeah, yeah.
I guess the Jewish people are just that important, you know?
Yeah.
God was like, we're going to keep this one religious group alive, this
Yeah.
like nomad group,
Yeah.
and we're going to bring about the salvation of the world through them. And you just realize, like, in another universe that didn't happen,
Yeah.
and probably a God, Jesus figure emerged from some other kind of faith construct, but
Yeah. Like,
he wouldn't
funny.
have been a Jewish kid.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. I don't know. Just time and how much we're just a flicker of, you know, a spark of a match, and then we're gone.
Yeah.
And humanity and our predisposition to try and like squelch our fears by conquering and by like
Yeah.
subduing, at some point when we get to like self-actualization,
Yeah.
we realize, oh, it is all love and we're all interconnected. And the things that I thought were just pagan, heretical, evil, demonic shit, oh, I realize that's just the narrative telling me that that's what that is. But if I'd grown up, and probably my ancestors did, were probably Druids, they probably had a very meaningful life, you know, connected with nature and
Yeah,
the
like,
universe.
So like with my like deconstruction journey, like I talked to a friend of mine who is like still actively a Christian, but he was very like, he was like, yeah, I know some of this might be bullshit, but like it makes me feel good and makes me like think I'm going to be okay. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I think that's what like a lot of things are, like a lot of religion is. And I'm like my wife and I, we joke, we're like there are a lot of things that we agree with in Christianity, but there's a lot of things that we disagree with, but we're both atheist, agnostic, and like whatever in between. But like the main core tenet is like, don't be a piece of shit to people.
Don't be
like,
an asshole.
and try to be genuine. Like, and like you still like as a human, you still have like a sense of wrong and right. And like some would say like that's just from societal upbringing, but like there's something of like, don't take from someone else something that's theirs, that's like throughout like all of like human existence. Like there's a general respect of someone else's breathing,
Right.
and like you should like respect people's autonomy. Like, so I don't know, it's this weird thing. There's a quote from John Mark McMillan, who said what is it, 4 days a week I'm an atheist, 2 days I'm agnostic, and 1 day I'm a Christian. And he's like, that's how my faith has always been. I'm like, yeah, that feels true.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I my whole thing I've told people is like, there's definitely days where I wake up where I feel like I can sneeze and I'd be an atheist, you know?
Yeah.
Other days I wake up and I'm like suddenly praying in tongues, or
Dude,
like,
I know it's so weird. Like and I think there's validity in the fluidity.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Oh, hell yeah.
Validity and the fluidity.
And like that, I think that also that applies for like a lot of people with their sexuality, their gender, but also like religion. Like not religion in like I'm practicing everything, but there are a lot of things that resonate in every religion.
Right.
And because I had that Christian upbringing and I loved reading the Bible and everything and like finding meaning that was true to it, like it's in Proverbs or Ecclesiastes, where it says it's the glory of God to hide things for those to seek out, and it's the glory of kings to search for what is hidden. And it's talking about knowledge. It's talking about like truths and like being able to see from a distance, like the treasures in everything, and searching out more. And I don't know, like I see like from being a Christian and like, you have to learn every religion so that you can witness to them. And so like I had books upon books about Hinduism, about Islam, about Judaism, about trying to think, what was another one? Satanism. Like I had
Did
like
you ever witness to Mormons?
oh dude, yeah. Like I had a book on Mormonism. I had a book on Seventh-day Adventists to go witness to them too. Like it was like to learn all of that, but like there's a general like Venn diagram of like everything that resonates, and it's like, dude, like the core tenets of all of them make sense of like how you interact with people, how you treat them, and like
Right.
how you carry yourself and how you care for the world. It's just like how like strict about everything else that they are, that it's like, yeah, that doesn't fit. That doesn't seem right.
Right. I feel like at least witnessing to people who have a different faith than you altogether, at least you're more likely to learn something that might change or expand your thinking.
Yeah.
But witnessing to Catholics or Mormons, in my opinion, is like some of the most bullshit.
Oh, dude.
Like you're just sitting here like arguing about, okay, how many layers of heavens are there?
Dude.
How many, do we get baptized? Do you read Joseph Smith or not Joseph Smith? Oh no, when we do Holy Communion, the body and the bread and juice is the body and blood of Christ. Oh no, it's just a metaphor for us. And it's like, it's all just sacraments and rules and just shit that man made up over thousands of years. And I'm just like, we're all technically Christians, but we're all like, we're aggressively like, don't marry a Catholic. Like they're all going to hell. They mean well, but they're going to hell, you know?
Tell me your family's from North England, the United Kingdom, without telling me, don't marry a Catholic.
Don't marry a Catholic.
You a Protestant? Oh my God. I have an awesome story about kind of being forced to be proselytized by some Catholics.
Yes. Please.
So I was dating this girl who had a bunch of expensive like uber healthy kind of like what is it, like baking pans or whatever, that they were coated with some special thing, like whatever. Like her mom was really into like, you know, those Christian people that sell you things and tell you like it's like gonna save the world and like it's gonna make you healthy because every pan you've ever used in your life is killing you slowly. And so like she dropped like $2,000 on like a bunch of like pans. And,
holy cow.
And then like realized she didn't want them and like realized that it was like bullshit like after. So gave them to her daughter to sell, and she found someone on Craigslist that was like, I think they were like just outside of Columbia, Missouri. And so girlfriend was like, hey, do you want to come with me to go drop these pans off in like outside of Columbia?
$2,000 worth of pans.
And I was like, sure, can my friend come along? And so my friend came along, and we all went there, and they were like, hey, like you guys don't have anything happening like the next couple of days, right? And we were like, no, like it's the weekend, like we're off, like we all worked at a cafe together. So it was like, yeah, it's closed tomorrow and the next day. So like, yeah, we'll hang out. Like, and they're like, cool, we'll make food for you. And like, just whatever. Like, we just want to be nice. Like, you drove out. And oh my God.
Oh, here we go.
They're like, cool. Like, do you want to watch like some DVDs with us? We're like, sure. Yeah, whatever. And then like, they're like 101 to Catholicism DVDs. And like, they kept debating, like, whatever. And like, we were asking questions like, so, hey, why do you have to have a priest to like pray for your request? And they're like, well, like this, but also like if you keep watching the DVD, it'll come up to that. And then like came dinner time, and it was like they gave us books to read over dinner, and it's like weird stuff. And like at the time, like I'm uber Christian and like whatever, but I'm also like laughing like this is a great story, either if like one of us gets maimed or like become Catholic. It's a great story.
It's either we're gonna be killed and buried in someone's yard, or we're gonna become Catholics. Like,
yeah. But I chose to do the thing. Like I ended up playing like Nerf guns with the family kids.
Yeah.
while my girlfriend and my friend like were being proselytized. So I
good
was
move.
having fun.
Yeah, that's a good move.
And then the next day, like after that, like it was just watching DVDs and like all of this. And then the next day they invited like their head bishop from their church, and then like another like priest from there to come converse with us about this all.
Gosh.
And it was like great. Like the entire time they were like, but so the thing about Catholicism is you don't need to like fight for what you believe. You just know that it's church history, and you're agreeing with over 2,000 years of church history. And I kept saying, but didn't the Catholics kill a lot of people?
You're like, while you're playing Nerf guns with
Yeah.
kids, like from the other room, but
Yes.
didn't they rape a bunch of kids? Like,
Yeah.
aren't they hiding a bunch of shit?
Yeah, but we ended up like slowly, like not slowly, we pretty quickly like packed up like in the middle of like a thing, and then like blocked their numbers.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
we were like, hey, I'm gonna go outside for a second, and then it was like, hey, I'm gonna go outside for a second, and it's like, I'm gonna go out, and then like we're down the road.
You're like, start up the car,
Dude,
quick.
I know, but it was just like the weirdest experience of like what,
Like,
like
they just want to show you some nice like hospitality. Oh no, we're
Yeah.
gonna have, a whole day, a whole night, evening and morning of.
Dude,
It reminds me of like
great.
the Jeffrey Dahmer meme thing where
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like, just want to watch a little bit of this movie. I want to take some pictures. Just sit
Yeah.
there and watch this movie.
oh my god, yep, that's what it felt like.
I had a Mormon friend growing up in high school. Also, like, I don't know, met him somehow. He was a homeschool kid.
Yeah,
And we kind of both made an agreement that I would go visit his church and he would come visit my church.
oh, those are the best agreements,
Right,
like,
yeah.
as a kid going
yeah.
to churches.
And, he was very ardent, Mormon. And so my parents are trying to prep me, and they're like, again, showing me videos of like, this is the bullshit they believe. Do not believe these things. So when they start talking about it, don't believe it, Micah. So anyways, I go to his church. My parents drop me off, and I go to his church. And I went to, a non-denominational church where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
cool to wear jeans and
Yeah.
like regular clothes. I go in, everyone's in suits and ties,
Oh my
dresses.
God.
So I'm automatically just like, the trouble child.
Who's
that-
this muggle?
Yeah. Who let that muggle in here? And again, it was very boring. Old people,
Yeah.
hymn kind of music.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, well, my church is going to easily blow his mind because,
Yeah.
like, we've got a band, we got fog, like
Oh my
smoke
God.
machines, lights.
Oh
we
my
have like
God.
electric guitars, like easily.
He's gonna shit himself for Jesus.
He's gonna shit himself for Jesus. Yeah, I swear to God, though, I was like pretty convinced. I was like, oh yeah, the minute he comes to my church, he's gonna realize how awesome it is.
Yeah.
And he's gonna like go home and like beg his parents to like, and I'm gonna like slowly just win him over to my side, kind of
Yeah.
thing. He comes to my church. I've never seen. First of all, he shows up wearing like a collared shirt and a tie.
Oh my God.
tucked in and some like slacks. Like still like no jacket. Like he's still trying. Like he knows. Like
Yeah.
I'm heading into.
I'm gonna dress down.
I'm gonna dress down for this Muggles church, and and then we've got people playing, getting slain in the spirit, people in tongues, smoke machines, all this shit going on. I've never seen a guy in a deer in headlights look in my life. Eventually, at some point, I just like lose him, and like I go outside at the end of service, and I realize he's sitting on the ground outside the church, had basically missed most of the service, had just decided this is evil, this is devil's
Oh my
like stuff,
God.
and he's out there reading the Book of Mormon.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Like it doesn't sound like something far off I would do in a particular situation. Like
Yeah.
drop me off at like, it'd probably be more like a hardcore like secular concert or something where
Oh,
like
yeah.
someone flashed their titties or something. I'd be like, I need to go outside. I need to.
I
Sit
need to
down.
go repent. For
I need to
seeing
go.
this.
I'm just gonna wait out here till my mom picks me up and read the Bible. Like that's just. But the fact that he was doing it because of all the evangelical
That's
church
so
stuff, I was like,
great.
I've never felt like I was so heretical in my life. I was like, man, this kid couldn't even sit through a whole service. He had to go sit outside and read the Book of Mormon.
That's awesome.
hey, wherever he is, I hope he's found his truth, you know.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's not stuck in the same cycles that we could have been stuck in.
Oh,
and
dude.
that's when he realized it's all just dressed up differently. It's all the same
It's
kind
a different flavor, but same ingredients.
same cake. Yeah. Like you're in a box and you're limiting yourself to what other people's experiences are. And
yeah.
Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that, hey, you're probably following a lot of bullshit regulations and rules that humans made up, you know?
Yeah. And for me, it's been kind of my ethos of like not wanting to be bitter, not wanting to hold on to that bitterness, and understanding like someone has a reason that they're believing it and believing whatever it is they're believing. And I don't have the authority per se to tell them that they're wrong to believe a thing.
Sure.
When I like am sharing like, hey, this is what like archaeologists have found about this. This is what like Bible scholars who are Christians say. This is what Bible scholars who are not Christians say, but also here's all their research. And like, I'm not saying you're wrong on something. I'm saying like, this is just historical fact on something. And I don't know, it's trying to do things out of love and not,
yes,
like, I don't need to change someone's mind on something. I don't need to prove that I'm right on something. Like, it's not that fun, you know? Being the person that's always right, but the one that no one wants to be around isn't fun. like I love debating. Like I have friends of mine that like they're uber like Calvinist, like Christian theologian bros, and like we love debating about things. And it's like every time we hang out, it's like, okay, cool. We know we're going to debate, but we don't know what it's going to be about. And it's going to be some random theological topic that like just comes up. And I'm either going to like be iconoclastic and it's something I don't care about, but I'm going to remind them that they are not seeing the full picture. And he's going to remind me that that viewpoint is unbiblical, and we're going to go back and forth and like agree to disagree, or agree that, okay, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have debated for the past 2 hours on something we don't even care about talking about.
Right. Yeah. And even just that approach, right? Like trying to illuminate that, hey, maybe we don't have the whole picture.
Oh, yeah.
Versus, oh, I have the right picture and you're just bullshit for not like seeing it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's a different approach. And that's unfortunate. Like, yeah, like I have some friends that like, you know, like I know that they mean well. They're good people. We might be able to even agree on some social issue, you know, justice and this and that. And if they're taking it from a Christian, you know, evangelical position, cool. Like whatever helps you love people and love the environment and for the better, I'm all about it. But when we get in those kind of heated debates and stuff, and I'm like pressing in on things that like I can very clearly see are like that, just like, oh, I don't want to say trauma response, but just that immediate, like, it's just like coded to their core. Like, no, I can't, I'm not even going to go down that route here. I want to take the argument back into the confines of the Bible. Well, if we can't agree and argue about it within this realm, then we can't have a dialogue. Like, no, my whole point is to have a dialogue. You have to come outside of the Bible. Like, it'd be one thing if we could just agree that we don't have all the picture. And I can admit that for myself. Like, that's the biggest, most humbling thing I realized, and why I had such a faith crisis was like, oh shit, like I spent my whole 20s, like, or early, like the whole first 20 years of my life, like feeling like I had the truth, like capital T truth, like spiritual experiences, crazy, weird, like, transcendental experiences that like validated this narrative. Yeah. That I need to just like now push aggressively on other people till they see it. And then realizing there are some people who will just, the whole world. If we like, I don't know. I backed up one day and I even thought to myself in college, just like, okay, so if I picture the world where everybody, like the church I went to and everything, like if we got everything we dreamed of, which is like stadiums across the US, like just filled with Christians. Let's just say we woke up tomorrow and the whole world was suddenly an evangelical Christian. Societies and countries.
Yeah.
like I just realized how fucking boring of a world we would have.
Yes.
Like over in the Middle East, like them having like stadiums singing like Hillsong songs.
Oh my
And
God.
just like I'm picturing like you even brought up like the One Thing conference earlier.
Yeah.
And dude, that was like the radical, like, we're going to change the world. Thousands of people were all saying the same thing. And you just realize, like, oh my God, what a terrible world it would be if everybody believed the same thing. It was a one world religion on Jesus. And this is how we expressed it. It's everybody just.
What's that King of the Hill scene where Bobby gets into Christian music? And Hank is like, you're not making rock and roll better. You're making it worse.
Yeah, that's how I just realized, like, yeah, like what a very lame world we would live if there wasn't that difference of like spiritual experiences and reflection. So that's what I find beautiful about all these different things now. Like, yeah, I can look at, you know, the misogyny and sexism in other religious groups and say that's not right, just like it's not right in Christianity.
Yeah.
But also, like, there's a lot of beautiful things in Islam or in these other like big major religious faiths, and they all tap and touch on the truth.
I was like, so you made a comment about having a lot of spiritual experiences and things, and then them like wrestling with that while deconstructing. Like I had the exact same thing. Like I would have dreams a lot that were like, cool, I'm seeing into the future, like legitimately. I would feel random burnings to go tell people random things that I'm not witnessing to them or anything. I'm just, hey, I just feel like I need to tell you this. And like the person starts crying, and then they're talking about like, I just cried out to God that like I wish someone would come up and say this phrase to me, and you said the phrase to me, like,
wow.
And like things like that, like that was a lot of my like experience. And like in
Same.
the weird prophetic thing, like the weird prophetic things, the spiritual charismaticism of Christianity was like what I was like vibing with, and like that's kind of why I got kicked out of a lot of churches when I was like younger in my family. But like getting like or deconstructing like a few years ago, like what like did it is I was reading like 4 books at the same time, and it was like this weird thing where like everything in each of these books separately wouldn't have made sense, but like at the right time of me reading like few chapters in one, few chapters in the other, a few chapters in another, it just resonated so hard.
Yeah.
And the two like the most that like resonated the most were The Cosmos and the Psyche, and then Awakening Your Intuition, because I was talking with a friend about wrestling with like the Holy Spirit, and like I feel this inside of me, like I've like this is the voice that I was told was God inside of me, and this voice is still speaking to me, but I'm not going to church, and like I'm not resonating with the things of the church, and like this voice led me out of church, and like it's the thing that rose up inside of me to like call out bad leadership, and that ultimately got me kicked out of certain situations at churches. Like I'm following this voice, like what is it? My friend was like, hey, read this book. I think like with your weird spiritual stuff, like it might resonate with you. And it did. And it broke down like very plainly, like, oh yeah, in like a lot of religions, it might be called the Holy Spirit, the Great Spirit, like whatever, but everyone has it, and everyone can listen to it. Everyone can grow that muscle of listening and experiencing it. And like in the book, it gives the example of like some nurses working in the hospital, like they have beeping and everything going off, and like they know it's fine, but then the one time like there's beeping happening, and they're like, no, I have to go now, and like they just saved someone's life, even though the exact same alarm was going off for someone else. They're like, but that person's fine. And like it's just this weird thing that they said like a lot of nurses said this, like the same thing. The particular, the author like worked in the medical field and like would hear people talking about their story and things while she's like trying to help them. And she's like, no, the reason why you're here is because you have a bad relationship with your husband. But she couldn't say that to the person.
Right.
Because like that's meddling and like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But she knows it's because of this person's relationship that something's affecting her. And like she like reconnected with that person later and like said what, like after she was out of the medical field, she was out of this, it was like, I think the reason why you keep going back to the hospital is this. And she said, the person said, I've been feeling that for like the past 10 years that I needed to like get a divorce. And like, you've just confirmed it.
Wow.
She got a divorce, like told her like, hey, like I went to the doctor like a year later and like all my health conditions with my heart have like disappeared.
Holy cow.
It's like, what the heck? And like this person in her book, like 3/4 of the way, it's all dope stuff. And it's like how to like, basically what I learned as a kid of like empathy of like when you're feeling like you feel a random pain that isn't your pain when you're like thinking about someone, then it's like, cool, go pray for them in this area. They might be feeling this. And so this person, like the last quarter of her book is like her selling you on her being a medical intuitive, and like you pay her money, talk to her on the phone, and like she can help you with like your health problems, which it's weird, whatever, but it was a popular thing like 200 years ago, if not quite a few thousand years ago as well. Like it's a thing that's been in culture, but again, because of the Christian like leadership over things and like, you know, trying to like squelch anything that doesn't get money into certain pockets, then yeah. So it's like, that's legitimate. And then the cosmos and the psyche is like agreeing with things that are in your environment and things that do benefit you, and knowing like you have power over like your like situation, and you aren't subject to a lot of things, or like you aren't subject to negative things all the time. Like you're in control. Like you can agree with the good things that might be happening. But I don't know.
I'm gonna have to check out those books,
dude. Yeah, like one
the Cosmos and the Psyche.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
And Awakening Your Intuition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one could argue too, just even with going back to like, you know, the Industrial Revolution and capitalistic for profit and stuff, how much even that realm tries to squelch that like intuition and again, like I'm all about facts and science, because again, I feel like I had this boomerang effect from like, yeah, all that shit's bullshit science. We're just gonna agree only with what the Bible says, and then I went to, well, the evolution, and there's explanations for a train of events. There's an explanation for everything, even if we haven't found it yet. Yeah. But to deny the interconnectedness between, I mean, like you said, even earlier, like how trauma lives in the body, like that's scientifically proven.
Yeah.
Like literally the shit that our ancestors, and one could argue, like even like other groups of people, the worst things like slavery and stuff, like that's ingrained into like our DNA. Like, and it blows my mind that there's science that's like continuously starting to validate like what we would think is like the what, I don't know, mystical mumbo jumbo. Like, okay, I have power over my destiny and I can like shape my environment. And it's like, and it affects my health, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, no, this is all like, yeah, very much interconnected. If we, and you know, again, I'm always going to lean on the like, hey, yeah, give me the medical advice. And, I don't know, I guess for me, like the biggest loss was being able to seek out, like, again, I already have a trouble asking for help. Like I'm always just like, I want to be the helper. Yeah. I always want to be that person. And so in some ways, by like the lack of like the Christian constructual like environment I grew up in, and had the loss of being able to seek out divine like inspiration or help, like having other people quote unquote speak into my life, was that like loss of that, because I was no longer in these Christian circles where people are like, hey Mike, I had this feeling that you're going through this. And like now, like if somebody says that to me and they're coming from a Christian perspective, I just immediately want to be like defensive wall. You know?
I'm not listening to that bullshit.
You know, Jesus, I had a dream about you and I feel like, you know, you're kind of lost right now. I don't know. And then some of it you kind of realize like it could be kind of general things anybody's going through. But like when you're opening yourself up to that and you are searching for those signs in the universe, it is really scary. When it starts to come back, when like, oh man, I was just thinking about this, and I have a conversation with somebody 2 days from now.
I know, like, it's weird. Dude, like, so in that book, The Cosmos and the Psyche, he like talks about Carl Jung a lot, which now I know Jordan B. Peterson like quotes Carl Jung a lot, but he doesn't quote, like, it's like they're quoting from different eras of them. In The Cosmos of Psyche, he talks about like the collective consciousness and like how we're all connected, and like when you put out something or when you feel something, like it legitimately is there, and everyone else can feel it and agree with it in a way. And it's just like this weird, like, what the heck? And I don't know.
And again, that's why I always come back to, if I don't understand it, I just make the joke. It's probably a simulation.
Oh my God.
We're all just code that's feeding some kind of biological processor that's studying the past. I don't know.
Oh, dude. I don't know. Like,
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's so good.
Shit.
Dude, I don't know. I've become comfortable with not saying I know everything. I've become comfortable with learning and continuing to grow, like, as things come up, and like adjusting my belief system based on like evidence, based on experience, but still, you know, like the childlike faith is like something that I've like held fast onto. Still, I have the knowledge, I still have the experience, but like what I believe, like, yeah, like I'm holding on to that. Like,
absolutely,
that's helped me with a lot of shit.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of for the people who are kind of in this post deconstruction era. It could be not even just like Christian. It could be, you could be a person who your whole family's Muslim, and you're realizing like, oh, I don't know if I believe this shit, and just the pressure to conform. Like, it's so important, like what you're saying, to still keep some element of that childlike faith. Don't let the confines of whatever religious construct that's been force fed down your throat. And maybe you had some good and positive experience with that. I guess that's what I try to like you said, don't. It's how I react to that, and if I harbor that bitterness, I think does diminish that, the wonder of the world. And I think that's, to me, how we see the divinity and the sacredness in others is when we like hold on to that childlike faith that like, hey, I don't know everything, and even though there's probably neurological, chemical explanations for why I feel like I need to share this with you, I'm just gonna like, you know, follow my gut, and I'm just gonna say, hey, I feel like you're going through something, can you share? And just being there with that person in that moment, how much that is being like Jesus more than any other thing. Dude, more than trying to play some DVDs. Sit down and watch this.
Hey, watch this
Catholic 101.
So
well, good. Jesse, I know we've really kind of thank you again, like dissect. I know it can be kind of hard sometimes, even going down and sharing it, but you seem like you said at the beginning, you're an open book, so thank you for going down this journey to share this. How do you feel like, just with your, you know, post-faith construction, everything, how do you feel like it's influenced your creativity? And like, what are some like projects you can share about that you're working on this year? And I know there's things that we have to kind of keep on the DL, the secret projects.
I signed an NDA.
You're in film, you're in film, you're in production, you do storytelling. Like, I'm sure there's a connection between what we've just discussed with your faith and your creative works.
Yeah, like I have a couple of like short films and things that I want to turn into like features that are around some of like this religious stuff, but like nothing like in bitterness, but like, hey, here's a fun story. Here's like something that's discussing like mental illness in people in leadership kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that's like a fun little thing that I'm working on and hoping to shoot sometime this year. But then there's like, I got a couple of projects or like one project that I've assumed the role of director. I've also assumed the role of host for it. It's in works with a distribution company called Blank Space Social. They put on a show called Gutted, which that was a big event that I worked on, of people, like a competition show of people taking vans, RVs, buses from gutted to finished in like 5 days. So they put on like shows and things within like the streaming world. So I'm working with them on this show where we're visiting charities, and like that's kind of like where I'm leaving it, of like how the flow of the show works. But like what I really wanted to do was just highlight dope charities that are doing dope things, and like charities that are actually doing something, not something like a charity that's like a tax haven for the rich. And like, it's funny because like for this particular thing, it's just been snowball of like, hey, I want to do this, and then I need to get a camera, and then I find like a dope camera for like a fraction of its price, and like, oh sweet, I guess this is working. And like I chat with a friend, and he's like, oh hey, like this distribution company I work for, like we're looking for new shows, like this would be dope, like can you develop it? And I'm like, oh shit, I need to find people to help me like work on it. And like everyone I talked to was like, oh hell yeah, this is dope, like I want to work on it. And I'm like, I've never been a director. I've never like really been in front of the camera. Like this is awkward. And like, I like reached out to a couple charities, and they were like, oh, this is an awesome idea. Like, yeah, you can shoot here. And it's like,
oh, that's so sick.
So like, I don't know, like I want to see it go somewhere, but like, I'm not like, concerning the show, I'm not like holding it to anything. I'm not expecting it to be a certain way. I'm working with this team of people who right now we're just volunteering on it, with the hopes of it getting picked up, with the hopes of it getting funding. But like, I'm not forcing like a certain vision of what it is. I'm like allowing it to like change per charity that we follow, because like you can't stay the same way for everything. But I don't know, like I feel like within my deconstruction and my faith change, or my new faith, like there's been a emphasis on the genuine, and an emphasis on like what people do selflessly, you know. Because I know like growing up in the church, like it was a big thing, like you would be told, they would tell you that people are doing things selflessly, but like they were telling you for what reason? For you to notice them, to see that they were doing this. Like in this, it's like, no, I'm highlighting these people, like I'm pulling them while they're doing stuff. I'm getting in their way to highlight that they're doing something. And the ultimate goal is to like, for this charity to get more funding. And like, we're spending like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks with a charity. The ultimate goal is to like get them publicity because they're doing something genuine. They're doing something legitimate, and not just working with like the homeless, not just working with veterans, not just working with puppies, like charities that are getting people out to hike, like everything, like charities that are working on bikes for people and like offering bikes. Like there's like, it's a broad term, charity, and like that's something that we kind of want to highlight. And I mean, just go with the vibe of it.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. Yeah, you bring up a interesting point as far as just thinking about how do we do something out of just for the goodness sake of the thing.
Yeah.
Versus trying to center ourselves and this and that. And at the same time, I think like there's nothing that's ever done 100% selflessly as far as like even like these charities, right? Like, yes, when I help somebody in need or whatever the circumstance might be, and my brain releases that feel good chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's not evil in itself,
Yeah.
And I think like there's just something like, yeah, I think there's a humble way to go about doing it. It sounds like that's exactly what you're doing,
Trying.
But I think that sometimes like it can almost stymie creativity when we're so worried about being a director, being in front of the camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like I just, we have so much kindred spirit energy going on that I just feel like I felt that way about this podcast. Like I honestly was like, doesn't everybody who start a podcast, aren't they just like a little egotistical, you know? You put your name in it and it's like, fuck that. If people want to judge that, like it'd be the same thing if I wrote a book, right? Like, yeah, I want to create a good story that people enjoy, but like, yeah, it'd be great to get paid for it one day. Like it'd be great to like survive. And that's what you realize, like, it's okay to take up space and we're allowed to exist here in this world too, and individually. And I think that so much of our, like you said, our Christian, whatever upbringing has like ingrained in us to take up less space, or even like, again, as much as I love the social justice circles and I'm all about the causes, how much that could even affect like white guys' minds. Like I have no voice to be able to come and like share about these, and do these experiences with folks of color. Like, guess what? That's called like racial reconciliation when we do things together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't know. There's just something that like, yes, we have to go at it with a humble approach, but it's okay to don't hold back your don't let hold back your creativity or feel like, oh, I can't get something out of this, because guess what? Life, whether we like it or not, we're getting things out of it. I eat food so it nourishes me. Like I exist and I breathe oxygen so I can. And guess what? I get to offer the world something back, and that's ideally the whole cycle, right?
Yeah. There's a phrase that I've been saying for myself, and it's like helped me like with my music, with my writing, with like my painting, like whatever I'm doing. It's just make more bad art.
Just make more,
because all art can be considered bad. Like someone's going to tell you it's bad. Like why like try to make it not bad? Just make the art that resonates with you.
Yeah.
And like don't judge it and just put it out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like, I don't know. That was less of a tirade maybe for you and more for me.
Oh, dude, I know.
If you saw it in my eyes, you're like...
Dude, I saw it. You're like, you needed that.
I needed that. I needed that pep talk, dude. I really needed it. No, again, going back to that self-sabotaging, like sometimes I don't feel like I can live out my full creative self when I feel like I'm constantly worried about how it'll be perceived by others versus the need, like you said, of just like, hey, I have this creative energy to do this thing. I'm going to produce it. And if I fucking miss the mark and I piss off a bunch of people, okay, I'll say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll shut down the podcast. I'll throw away all the mics and say, no, I'm just kidding. But, at some point, you just have to stand for what your fire is.
Yeah.
What's burning inside of you. And so it sounds like you're going to have a really good year. And I'm wishing you luck on this journey.
Thank you so very much. You're
Director Jessie. Hey, where can people find you online?
Dude, you can find me on Instagram. Insta don't give a crap.
I love that.
Is my my Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I shitpost more than I should. I'm trying to cut back. I can quit at any time. You can email me at jessievandervyver@gmail.com. If you work in the film industry, you see me on set. If you don't and you see someone that looks like me, you can yell my name. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hey, thanks for being here again.
Thank you so very much for having me. So much love.
Yeah, much love, dude. Till next time. Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. And Check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.
You are now re-entering the normal world.